All right, everybody, welcome back to the Clear Path podcast. I'm Max Chang. With me, as always, is Mr. Nick Lombardo, and as you can see, we're in an in-person filming session today. Nick, how does it feel?
Feels good. First ever in person. I feel like the studio looks pretty good for limited notice on setting this up in person. I'm sure there'll lead to more spirited debates now that we are in person.
Yeah, 100%. So, we're excited. So, just a bit of what's on the agenda today. We're going to do a quick rundown of how the season's been going. I think we're about a third of the way through the season. So, we're going to touch a bit, maybe compare to some of the thoughts we had in the beginning of the season, and then talk about I have a list of my top 25 NBA players right now. You haven't seen them yet, so we're gonna talk a bit about that. I'm sure there's some things you might disagree with there.
Sure, there always is. There always is.
And then we might wrap up the episode with kind of one of the biggest stories in the NBA this season, which is kind of huge games that have been happening from so many different players. So I have a list of, I think, top 50 games, offensive games from any player this season, and we're going to kind of talk about why we think that's going on, and is it gonna last, or is this kind of a one-time thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so let's hop right into it. Let's look at the East. So I would say through the course of the season, if we looked at just the standings right now, I don't think anything's extremely shocking. The thing that sticks out to me the most is maybe the Sixers at 5, the Pacers obviously at 6, but besides that, I would say everyone's kind of where we thought they were going to be. But the caveat is the Brooklyn Nets looked awful for the first month and a half of this season. We thought they might even be out of the play-in.
Yeah, that's kind of what we talked about during the preseason predictions too. Was that I think we had them at around a play-in team power rankings wise, and I think they've won their last 13 at this point. So
yeah, exactly. So that's the whole thing, is that they're on this insane win streak, and I didn't believe that they could win a championship, and I still have my reservations. But this is the kind of thing you want to see if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan. They need to become powerhouse in order to win the East.
Well, I think the thing is, and we kind of talked about this in the preseason too, was that we knew they had the talent. It was never a question of the talent. It was a question of what kind of buy-in you were going to get from Durant, what kind of buy-in you were going to get from Kyrie, with all the noise that was surrounding it. And are they as bad as the way they started the season? Probably not. Are they as good as the way they've played the last 15 games? Probably not. The answer's in the middle somewhere. But we always knew they were atop of the East kind of talent-wise, So I think there's not really, in terms of Celtics, Nets, and Bucks being at the top, I mean, that's kind of what we expected.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying too. Is it is what you'd expected, but after the first month, we wouldn't say that.
Well, would you be surprised if any of these, if whoever came out of the East wasn't one of Celtics, Nets, and Bucks? Would you surprise if it was anyone else?
I mean, the Sixers obviously are the obvious team that we would say could be a team in this contention. But
kind of out on the Sixers.
Really?
I just don't really believe in it.
I just think that they have the ability to have the best two players in any playoff series. And as we know in playoff basketball, it just comes down to who the best player is on the court.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like Embiid is terrifying, but I just don't believe that like Harden as the lead ball handler is something that could actually like win you all those, like, you know what I mean? If you're going up against Giannis and Durant and Tatum, I don't think Harden can really be the best guy for an entire series. I'd be pretty shocked if the Sixers came out of the East.
But that being said, you would trust a KD, Kyrie, some sort of mix. Like, I don't trust Kyrie. I don't trust Kyrie in a different way than Harden. I trust Kyrie when he's playing.
Right.
But I know for a fact something's going to happen to this team.
I think the difference there is, though, Kyrie's the second option.
Sure.
I guess Harden would be the second option in a way.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you're thinking like lead ball handler, like Harden is the number one lead ball handler, and if Durant's the number one lead ball handler, then yeah, I would trust the Nets more. I'm like kind of like, we've gone so far back and forth on the Nets. Like maybe they're just a good team. Like they're just a good team. And they have a chance, as good as any of these other teams. You know what I mean?
I mean, part of the thing is that their 12-game win streak is against some pretty bad teams.
Yeah.
If you're looking at the games, they got wins against the Bulls, the Hawks, the Hornets. They're not playing tough teams, so that's definitely part of the win streak. But it is impressive. It's also impressive because not a lot of. It's not like KD's on this 40-point game. I mean, KD's playing really, really well, but he's not like on this insane run. So this is like Steve Nash gets fired, Jock Vaughn takes over, the defense gets better.
And not Ime.
And not Ime.
I really thought Ime was going there. That story just kind of like fell to the wayside.
Yeah, I mean, the more we hear, once we hear more about Ime Udoka.
You have inside sources.
I know, I have no inside sources, but the fact that he wasn't hired and they took Jock Vaughn, who last was a head coach for the Orlando Magic, and I think they were like 20-82.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Probably a bad sign.
Yeah, probably a bad sign.
But I would think I would probably give the Cavs a better chance than the Sixers at this point.
Wow. See, I love the Cavs, but who's going to be the best player on the court for them?
Mitchell. He's 71.
Mitchell did just come off a 71-point game. But I just have a hard time believing that Donovan Mitchell is going to outplay either Durant, Embiid,
Yeah.
Giannis,
So
Tatum.
it would be tough.
Yeah.
I think the difference maker there is you have Mobley on defense, which is like, a defensive tool that really, I guess some of the other teams have it, but that's kind of a game changer.
Yeah.
Just having Mobley on defense.
No, 100%. And they definitely are very well balanced, I'd say.
Yeah, and we've seen Mitchell do it in the playoffs before a little bit. I mean, they had that first round series with the Nuggets. They went pretty deep in his rookie year too.
Yeah.
And last year it was like, everything that's coming out is like that was the unhappiest of all the unhappy teams. So it makes sense that he was kind of like not really playing that much defense, like kind of taking fuck it shots. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I don't think the Cavs make a serious run this year. I think next year is probably the year where it's like, okay, we've had all these guys together. Now we can really see what they do. But I mean, I would take the Cavs over the Sixers at this point. And I think those are the 5 teams really, unless you want to throw Miami in there.
Yeah, I don't believe in Miami. I mean, obviously for me, preseason wise, I thought Toronto had a chance to be one of the best.
I still
teams
don't
in the
understand
East.
why they're so bad.
Yeah, and
no
we're
sense.
looking at the standings right now. They're 12th, so they're 16-21. I mean, I don't know what happened.
At the same time,
really
though,
good.
like even if you caught the Toronto in the playoff series, like I wouldn't be pumped about that.
No, definitely not. But I almost view the two Cavs in Toronto as similar levels of talent. I mean, the Cavs are better, but I'd say there's not a huge difference between the two. They're both kind of looking for an actual star. Maybe the Cavs have found theirs in Donovan Mitchell.
Not Siakam.
Not Siakam.
Don't like Siakam.
I mean, we'll get to that in a bit, but, maybe not Siakam. But, yeah, you're right. I think the Cavs have a chance. But, yeah, it's definitely that top 5 at the very least. I mean, the Pacers at 6. I think preseason-wise, we both had
low.
them, pretty low, maybe 13. I know I had the Magic higher than them for sure.
Yeah.
Because we just thought they were going to try to lose, but Tyrese Halliburton, he's that guy.
Halliburton is that guy, and they're getting
that
like
guy.
random contribution. Like Mathurin is better than they thought.
Yeah.
Nembhard is pretty good. They've revived the corpse of Aaron Nesmith as well.
True.
I looked up and I was like, hey, he's 16-4.
Yeah.
I've never seen that on the He was on the Celtics for 4 years and couldn't touch the court.
Yeah.
And like now he's just like a solid rotational player in Indiana.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is they're shooting, I think, something like over 45% of their shots are threes. Which is like, when you're playing like that.
Just playing the mat.
Just playing the mat. Just playing the mat.
This works.
And they're an awfully fun team to watch. I love Tyrese Halliburton. I think the fact that the Kings are where they are right now, it makes it hard to say that they lost the trade in an overwhelming way.
True.
But Halliburton is the best player in that trade.
Yeah, he
And
is.
the Kings gave up players alongside Halliburton.
I think it's hard because it's like it's almost a win-win trade, right?
Almost.
Because both teams got better from it.
Yeah.
But to give up Halliburton and get Sabonis, like no one would want Sabonis over Halliburton realistically. Even though he's a great player and he probably fits better with the Kings, it's like I guess that is a win-win trade. Even if like I do think the Kings still lost that trade, even though they're better somehow.
I mean, Tyrese Halliburton's leading the league in assists.
That's crazy.
He's 21 points a game. He's 4 rebounds a game. He's likely an East All-Star. Or he's definitely East All-Star. He's likely an East starter this year based on...
It's going to be tough with all the guards.
But you got to imagine, I mean, this Pacers team sitting at 21-17, no one expected this. And the surrounding cast, I mean, love Buddy Hield, love Miles Turner. They're probably getting shipped off, right?
You got to think... So the thing with the Pacers is they're kind of like... I think they value being competitive more than they value tanking. You know what I mean? And they did that last year, and they got Matherin. So it's like, I don't know. They're just going to kind of just say, hey, let's be a play-in team. Let's let this core grow together and keep around these veterans. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they did that and they end up either a 6th seed or like a play-in team. It makes more sense for them to just go the other way, but like, I don't know. They already have 21 wins.
Yeah, they kind of almost have 21 wins. We're looking at the standings now. I mean, the Pistons are 10-30. The Pacers already got 11 more wins than that. That's tough.
Yeah. The Hornets.
So I guess you're right. I mean, I can't imagine they're going to put assets into winning this year. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense either. So I guess they just ride it out. But I mean, it's just impressive to see Turner and Hield and Neesmith and all these guys that are nobodies put something together. But you got to ask, how long can that last?
Yeah.
Are these long-term pieces?
Yeah. Which I think you have some. There's definitely promise there, but I do think there's still like a big piece away from being able to crack into this top 5 or 6 in the East, realistically.
That's fair.
I think Miami will turn it around a little bit. I think Miami probably ends up as that 6th seed, but I don't know what happens with Atlanta at this point. And it's
Yeah,
been
I was going to say
stuff coming out of there.
That is our next kind of big story here in the East. Is that one of the biggest trades of the offseason, not named Rudy Gobert, was the trade for DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
And you look at it, you expect some improvement there.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave up basically no substantial real pieces in that DeJounte Murray trade, yet their record's worse.
Yeah.
So at some point, we got to ask what's going on with Trae Young.
I think that's probably the next big star to ask out, right? At some point, you kind of have to start looking at it, and it's like, I don't know, they had that one run, which kind of, in retrospect, looks a little fluky now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You had like the Sixers imploding on themselves, basically. And I don't know. I mean, would you, if you were GM of a team, would you want Trae Young on your basketball team?
I mean, that's like an impossible question. Like,
probably depends on the other players.
Depends on the other players, but I mean, I don't want to diminish the player that Trae Young is. He's made All NBA third team. He's a multiple time All Star at a young age. Like, he's 28, 10, and 3. Like, he's basically everything that we just said was Tyrese Halliburton, but Halliburton's a bit taller and bigger. The main problem is his personality, the intangibles that we're saying. When you are the best player on the team, can you lead a group of men? Can you be accountable on both sides of the ball? Are you an easy player to play with? These kinds of things, I think now the difference is the NBA is so good now, these little things are mattering more and more. Yeah. Right? Every team has a guy that's 20, 10, and 5. It's not that hard to find.
Every team.
Even the Pistons, they had to shut down Cade.
You know, Bogdan is averaging 20 points.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I was looking through the scoring leaders. I was like, Bogdan, just like still, just chucking him up and getting his points.
Exactly.
Dude.
I mean, we're looking at the Magic 13-24. Paolo Franz are both, they're both 27 and 7 guys, right? Yeah. So when we're looking at a league like that, we can no longer just be looking at the box score stats and being, not that we're satisfied, but like 28, 10, and 5 doesn't guarantee you anything anymore. It's all about all these other things. And to be honest, he's got a good team around him, right? I don't think he's got a bad team.
If you say on paper, okay, you have your lob threat in Capella, you have your, other guard who plays good defense and moves the ball and shoots in DeJounte. If Hunter is like, Hunter's like fine. Yeah. I mean, is trading John Collins like the answer to all your problems? Like, at some point, you're like, look, we put a good team around Trae Young. It's just not working at some point. It is. It's super talented.
And Onyeka Okongwu is one of the best young big men in the league. He's,
it's arguable whether he or Capella should be playing at times too.
And they got Bogdan Bogdanovic coming off the bench that they nicked from the Bucks all those years ago. Yeah. He doesn't, what's there to complain about now? That's the question.
Well, it's like, I don't know. What would you do if you're if you're the Hawks GM right now, you're Travis Schlenk. Yeah. You're sitting there and you're like, I don't know what to do with this team.
Yeah, it's tough because you can't fault him for building a bad roster. No. I think he's built a great roster. I think a lot of the coaching is coming down to, Trae Young asked for the last coach to get fired. Nate McMillan now, him and Nate are having beef. I don't know. I don't want to trade Trae Young. You trade a guy like that, you're always losing the trade. You never win that trade.
I think where I would end up with it is I would probably try and move John Collins, just like an addition by subtraction kind of thing. Yeah. and then just kind of ride it out the rest of the season and reassess in the off season.
Yeah,
like see
it's
if there's
tough.
something. But you know what I mean? If they're just going to be a 500 team and it's an expensive team too.
Yeah, it's an expensive team.
I'm
They're
not sure
even
what
a
other
good
moves
team.
there are really outside of trading Trey.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, maybe you can get a first for Collins and then kind of have. I don't know. I don't even know
Yeah,
what
I
you
don't
can
know.
get for Collins. It feels like they've been trying to trade him for 4
Yeah,
years and they haven't been able to
exactly.
get anything.
So I don't know. They're kind of stuck there. I mean, I can't imagine the road to them getting better. So
Yeah, no,
We're gonna have to
it's
wait
got.
and
I think
see.
it's got to be an internal change at this point.
I agree.
You know, with like the mindset or anything.
yeah.
Is there anything else you want to hit in the East? Any other teams you want to talk about?
I mean, it just seems like we're kind of reaching the precipice of teams that are going to blow it up. I think we still have yet to really see a Wembanyama blow
Full
up.
on,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know. I think like if you're the Bulls, you got these assets. I think they're up there. I mean, I don't think
I would have already had traded
Me
Levine and
too.
DeRozan if
Oh,
I was
yeah.
running the Bulls. So
yeah.
like,
I mean,
we're not doing
Lonzo
anything.
looks like he might even. We don't know if he's going to play.
The Wizards, if you can like trade off the
Porzingis.
reincarnated Porzingis.
Yeah. But besides that, I mean, there are some surprise teams, but it kind of seems like there is a
It's
top
more or
team.
less what we expected for the top team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who would you pick coming out of the East right now?
I mean, I think it's between the Bucks and the Celtics,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go with the Bucks. I
Okay.
stick with that preseason pick. I think Giannis is just still unstoppable.
Yeah.
And I think as a first-year head coach, Joe Mazzulla, I think that's going to be the real test in the playoffs.
There's been some flaws recently.
Yeah.
There's been some flaws in the way that Missoula's been coaching recently.
Yeah, and I just don't trust this Nets team at all. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay away.
I don't trust the Nets to actually do it. I think the Celtics have more talent at this
Mm-hmm.
point. I do worry about Missoula because he is a very like go with the flow kind of coach.
Yeah.
You know, there's a story pretty recently about he was like during timeouts sometimes he doesn't say anything.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he'll just like kind of bring all the players together and he's like figure it out, guys, which is like fine, but you know. The Celtics have shown a track record of not being able to figure out it's just the players, which is when I think Ime was good.
Yeah.
He'd walk in and be like, what are we doing, guys? Like,
Yeah.
figure it out and kind of yell at them.
Yeah.
Whereas Missoula's more like spiritual, like, they'll figure it out. Let them play free, let them flow. And I mean, not that Bud is some, like, phenomenal coach, but I do think the coaching edge would go to the Bucks
Yeah.
in that series. I'm starting to think Missoula might be, like, better as an assistant coach than a
Yeah.
head coach. I mean, they have the best record in the league, so how much can you complain?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think I would still pick the Celtics,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's like 51-49
Yeah.
Bucks Celtics at this point. So
I mean,
that'd be
yeah.
fun.
If any other team besides those two, if we're making this pod in June, right before the finals, and I'm
Yeah.
looking at the Cavs and the that's a shock.
That would be a
So,
shocker.
yeah, it's one of those.
I'd be shocked. I mean, the Nets, like, I would be shocked if the Nets could
Yeah.
really like hold it together for 3 rounds.
I mean, like NBA history, I was looking at, even KD. Like, KD hasn't played over 60 games in the last 5 seasons.
Oh wow.
Are we gonna? Not that I'm wishing injury on
No,
anybody,
no.
but it's just he's an old superstar.
Yeah,
Kyrie Irving at any
he's been
given
too
moment.
normal.
Yeah,
Kyrie's
it's
been too
too
normal,
normal.
for 2 months.
John
You know what
Vaughn,
I mean?
not a good coach.
Nah,
Historically,
no,
has
no.
proved to us. Not
I
a
still
great
just don't
coach.
really trust their defense too.
Me
You know
neither.
what I mean?
So, I mean, maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're just idiots, and the team that won 12 in a row is actually good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to wait. Call us in May. So let's move on maybe to the West.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably where we have our biggest surprise of the entire season is the Golden State Warriors at 9. At
Yeah.
20 and 18. They've been as low as 10, I think. 11, I think they maybe been
Yeah,
as
they
low
were
as.
they were out of the play-in at 1.2.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's going on? What do you think?
I'm actually not worried at all about the Warriors. I just think it's fine. I think the start of the season, it was weird with Poole and Draymond.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was also, they really expected those young guys and Kuminga, Moody, and Wiseman
Yeah.
to like step up and take on the Gary Payton, the Otto Porter, like
Yeah.
all those minutes. They just didn't at all.
Yeah.
Wiseman may or may not be like an NBA player.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
not
that's
sure
where, yeah.
yet. I really thought Moody and Kuminga would be playing really well for them, and it just hasn't really happened.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I mean, they don't have Curry right now.
Yeah.
Clay has started to look better and like
Yep.
started to show signs
54
of life.
points the other day.
I think the Poole and Draymond thing is like, it's fine. It's never going to be good between those guys,
Yeah.
but like it's sustainable.
Yeah.
And Wiggins is clearly their second best player and is like a bona fide second scorer.
Yeah.
So I think they're fine. I mean, they've been winning a little bit. I think as long as they get out of the play-in tournament, I would still pick them and their pedigree over anyone else in the West. But I wouldn't be surprised if one of these young teams takes them over.
I would say for me, just from watching a couple of the games, what really sticks out to me is the defense. I mean, it's underrated how great the Warriors' defenses are in all their championship runs. It's an all-time defense. They've always had great defenders on the perimeter, on the inside. Draymond's obviously a Hall of Fame defensive player. But it just seems like there's a disconnect with the young players. I mean, Poole's a negative defender.
Yeah.
You put Kuminga's got the tools, but he's not really a strong team defender yet. So what would scare me, I mean, I do agree with a lot of what you said, and I think like some of these teams ahead of them are a bit fraudulent. And they're not really that far behind. They're only, 5 games out first in the loss column. It's not ridiculous. That's like one Curry week. We're back there.
Yeah, once he's healthy.
But yeah, it's the defense is what scares me. And Steve Kerr teams have always been good on defense. So, I mean, it's a bit wait and see, but them and the Suns, man. Another team
that
we
Phoenix.
Yeah.
I felt good about that. They were in first a couple weeks ago, and we were texting,
like, oh my God.
We screwed it up. Like we shouldn't. No, they're right where they need to be. Chris Paul is showing signs of him, kind of aging. One more thing on the Warriors. Yeah. I think Draymond's gone.
Oh yeah, 100%. Draymond's gone. There's no chance he comes back. He is a Laker in the summer. No chance.
But like talking to Warriors fans, like I thought it would be more of like, Curry, Clay, and Draymond. Those are our guys. They don't like Draymond. They're like his temper has cost them 2 titles, which it kind of has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I think Draymond's gone. You can't pay all those guys. You can't pay those 2 guys and Poole and Wiggins.
Yeah.
When you're paying Draymond $25 million to give you 5, 5, and 5.
Yeah, Draymond seems like he's on his way out. I mean, to be honest, I think even Clay could be.
I think Clay is like I don't think they could trade Clay. It's like it's too he with all the injuries and stuff added to it. Like he's just done so much for that team and for that city. Like I think there would be like riots if
Hear
they
me
traded
out.
Clay.
I'm just throwing this out there. I haven't even thought about this at all until right this moment. Lakers missed the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
LeBron's demanding a trade. The Lakers are like, all right, let's blow it up. Or the Lakers or LeBron goes, I need to switch things up.
Okay.
What if
I don't think he leaves the Lakers.
No, let's say
the
Lakers. He says Lakers. Let's say Warriors call. They go Wiseman, Draymond, Clay. We'll even throw in Kuminga for AD. What do you think?
The Lakers say no.
You think the Lakers say no?
Yeah.
But LeBron's like, we got to change things up. We got me and AD here with a 13th seed.
I think that makes your team significantly worse still, though.
I mean, yeah, I agree.
But
this feels like I feel like we're kind of at another one of those when KD or the D'Angelo Russell signing trade. That was for the KD. That was what kept this drive going. I think we're in another one of those. The Warriors going to make another move like that with Draymond and get somebody.
I think what probably ends up happening is they let Draymond go in free agency because they're just like, how long can you spend like $300 million on a basketball team? I think with the Lakers, they probably just like they get off the Westbrook contract as it expires and they make some like signings in free agency and they run it back. I almost think like LeBron's kind of just like, I think he probably kind of knows at some point he's not winning another championship, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's just not the path when you're paying $100 million for those 2 guys. There's just not really the path, and he's just like, let me get the scoring record and like get out of here. Yeah. Like I don't like if you really look at it, like there's unless some like superstars like I have to go to the Lakers, like they really have very little that they can do.
Yeah, it'd have to be moving off AD, but how do you get better when you move off AD? I mean, it does.
I don't know who would take a chance on AD. It's just like the guy hasn't been able to stay healthy. Like, he's great when he's playing, but he just hasn't been able to stay healthy for 3 years.
I'm looking at the team. I mean, I think there's a lot of teams that would, but I don't know what trade would make sense with those teams. Like, I don't know. The Mavericks or the Pelicans even, or even the Grizzlies.
It's because it's like what like real top 15 piece could you get back for AD?
Yeah, it
doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
No, you're
take
right.
an older guy for a younger guy or anything like that.
So I think you're right. I mean, so like we said, the Warriors this big upset, but I think they're still in. I think you're right. I mean, they're not that far out. The West is a bit tight. I mean, but the Denver Nuggets, a team that you were high on in the preseason, I wasn't so high on. It's in that first right now, 24-13.
Yeah. So I think that with the Nuggets, like, are we really going to let Jokic win a 3rd MVP?
I mean,
like, I know he's really good. I know he's been better this year. But it's like, can we switch it up? Like, I'm, like This is a little bit of my Celtics fan talk.
Sure.
Like, let's give it to Tatum. If Tatum's the 1 seed, let's give it to him.
I mean, I don't think he can win. I don't think they will let. I mean, if he gets a three-peat, he's in the same conversation as Michael Jordan.
I think the only thing
they're
with
not gonna let that
the
happen.
Nuggets is like it's the nerds who love Jokic, and it's the nerds who vote on this stuff. Oh, look at his VORP. look at his whatever. And they're gonna want to do it. I think he's gonna win it now.
No, I don't think he's gonna win it. I mean, I think if we're being real, we look at the surrounding piece around him, the pieces around him. I'm not sure there's a player that's done more with less.
I think right now they have a good team. That this is kind of like almost the ideal.
But I mean, let's look at all the other MVP candidates. Tatum.
Right.
I mean, this team is immensely better, right? There's no debate there.
Yes, I think it's close, but yes.
I don't even think it's. I think the Celtics are the best roster in the league. I don't even think
that. Well, I think with the Nuggets, though, I think you're underrating the supporting cast because you have Murray, who's still not fully there yet. Fully 100% back.
Sure.
The Jamal Murray was the flames were shooting out of his eyes during the playoffs. Michael Porter Jr. should send thank you notes and flowers to Jokic every single day for what he does.
But that's my point, though. He's elevating these guys like MPJ on the Pelicans.
That's true. Aaron Gordon has never looked so effective in his life.
Aaron Gordon is he's got 17 points a game now. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, he just he runs around and gets dunks and gets open layups and stuff. But I mean I think that's a pretty damn good team. You have Bruce Brown rolling around. You have Bones who can get some stuff off the bench.
I think they're fine.
I believe in the Nuggets team. They would be looking at this list. They would probably be up there for me with this real circle of contenders.
So maybe let's go through this real circle of contenders then.
Okay.
So what do you have as in the West? Because in the East it was basically the top five. You're like, okay, this is the top five in the East. I don't think that's true at all in the West. I think there's some teams here that I want to see.
I guess it's 4 for me.
Sure.
I'd say the Warriors. I would say the Nuggets, and then and then a small tier, Grizzlies, Pelicans, and can you count out the Suns yet? Can we count them out?
Okay. I mean,
So I guess it would really be a top 2 for me then.
Sure. You think it's Warriors, Nuggets?
Yeah, and then a small tier Grizzlies, and then and then Pelicans too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the West is really, really close. I'm not sure there's I mean, in the East, you're it's got to be one of these two. I'm not sure that team even exists in the West. I'm thinking for me, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Grizzlies. I might drop the Pelicans.
Okay.
And I think I would take the Mavs.
Yeah.
And I don't want to touch the Suns. The Suns are out. I'm out on the Suns. But I think that Luka, this West is set up in a way. This would be the year for the run. Because the teams ahead of him, none of them have a player that's going to be better than him. Maybe Jokic, right?
Curry too.
Sure, but Curry might have to play in a play-in and then play in the 1-8 against Jokic. Right. By the time he even sees Luka, it might even be, who knows, right? Yeah. There could be injuries, whatever. And then the Grizzlies haven't done it before.
No.
Pelicans haven't even been to the playoffs in the last 5 years. So I think this is this is what to keep your eye on, is a Dallas Mavericks finals berth. I'm saying this now in January, but I think that's what it's setting up for. This is Luka's going to go on this insane tear, and that we're looking at the teams. There's no one there really to stop him.
Yeah, I think my thing with the Mavericks is, Luka is amazing, but it's just the team around him is so thin, dude. It's so thin, and it's all set up for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if they made the finals. But if you're gonna make the finals and your second best player is Christian Wood, or I don't think he even starts Dinwiddie, it's man, I would be shocked. That would be an all-time run if he make with him carrying them throughout the regular season and then all the playoffs too with that team. I feel they need one more piece, and they're then I'd be okay, I could really see them doing it. I feel right now I'd be surprised, but. Not surprised too, in a way.
I think this is the sneaky Buddy Hield, Miles Turner if they chose to make a move.
I think that'd be a good move.
This is the sneaky Bogdan move from the Pistons. This is somewhere in the Jakob Poeltl, that type of move. I think actually goes a long way here with the Mavericks.
I think if you could put down one other guy who's I know this guy's scoring 18 to 22 points every night, I don't even have to think about it with the Mavs, then you're feeling pretty damn good about your chances. Exactly. Where the West is a little bit a little bit in disarray right now.
Yeah.
With this, you know.
I mean, the West is going to eat each other apart before they get to the playoffs. Every single team is so good.
So talk me through the Grizzlies, because I have
Yeah.
and I was low on them in the
Yeah.
preseason thing, and like I'm looking at them and I'm like, yeah, I probably should put them in the circle of contenders, but they're just not quite there for me yet.
I mean, for me, secretly, this is the one team that's been consistently good over the last 3 seasons. And that kind of means something to me. And I think that their loss last year in the playoffs makes a difference here. And I think that sort of playoff experience, this is why we don't believe in I don't believe in the Pelicans. Is like, you need to take that first. No team just gets to step in here and just win, right? That you need to take a couple
that's my
losses.
thing with the Cavs too. Is like you go through one run and then
Yeah.
you lose, and then you're like, okay, now we know what to do.
Exactly. So that's why I think the Grizzlies have a bit of an advantage over all these teams, besides not named the Warriors and I guess the Nuggets. But yeah, I think Ja Morant is very, very good. I think they have an extremely deep roster the way that the Pelicans do. There's not really a huge second guy, but they have up to 12 players. If they have any injury, I'm not that worried about it, right? Even Ja can go out, and I'm like, all right, Desmond Bane, and it looks like it's going to be Desmond Bane 30-point games from here on out.
Brooks gets a lot of shots.
Exactly.
Brooks like so pumped. He's like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Finally the offense runs through me.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And, you know, Adams is a proven playoff guy. Like, they got these veterans. I like where they are. They got young guys, energy. Zaire Williams, I like a lot. Santi Aldama, the rookie.
There you go.
Oh, my God. I love
Deep
him.
cut right there.
Yeah, he's great.
This guy's league pass now. He's talking about Aldama.
Aldama's great. So, yeah, I think that, I mean, I just believe in it. I think Taylor Jenkins is a good coach. And, yeah, I don't want to discount, you know, where the playoff success they've had in the past and, you know, the experience of being a good team.
I think the reason that I dropped the Grizzlies down just a little bit is because you kind of need like one bigger guy, whether it's a bigger wing or it's like a bigger center.
Sure.
You kind of need one of those guys in the playoffs when everything gets really tight and you don't have like the regular season space you have.
Sure.
The only team that's really been able to win consistently without a big wing like that is the Warriors with Curry, who's just like an otherworldly kind of guy. If it's like Mavs, you have Luka, Nuggets, you have Jokic, Celtics, you have Tatum. You know what I mean? When everything gets really compressed, I worry a little bit about like Ja's ability to do it all as a smaller guard. Not that that shouldn't really be a knock on Ja, but that's kind of where I'm like, and when you're staring down, like, okay, I guess Brooks, like, we need you, Brooks. It's like, you know what I mean?
No, that's fair. That's a valid concern. I mean, we've seen guard-led teams just plummet in the playoffs in years past. AKA the Phoenix Suns last year. But yeah, I think that this West is weird enough.
Yeah.
And they still have moves to make if they want to make moves. I think they should make moves. But yeah, they're a half game out of first right now. They're one game. They're half a game behind. They have the same losses as the Nuggets.
Which I'm not surprised at all that they're high regular season team. I put them lower because I have lower expectations for them playoff wise. But
yeah,
I think they've proven me wrong a little bit so far. For sure.
And then I guess besides that, the real, I guess, kind of a surprise is the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
And the to a lesser extent the Utah Jazz, who started the season out extremely
and they're
hot.
coming back to it.
But yeah, this is kind of
still marketing, dude.
Yeah.
It's like 25 a game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Could the Grizzlies trade for marketing?
Yeah.
Right? I feel like that works for both teams, perhaps. Maybe that would move the needle for the Grizzlies.
Oh, now you're talking. Marketing.
The Grizzlies. But yeah, I mean, the Sacramento Kings, light that beam, baby.
Light the beam.
They are a revelation. They are very
Yeah,
good.
dude. I'm going to try. I want to go down to Sacramento and go see a game, dude. It looks like it's a ton of fun there.
I mean, yeah, Fox and Sabonis, I think, are one of the most productive pick and roll duos in the league.
Yeah.
Wouldn't expect that to be true. They're just shooting very, very well. Kevin Huerter, I think, is actually the sneaky MVP of this team.
Yeah.
He provides the spacing that they need. Fox, as we know, is not a great shooter, but he provides that spacing for Fox to get driving lanes, for Sabonis to be able to post up one-on-one. Besides that, we got a lot of bench play that's coming in here. Yeah, Monk is looking good.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that who knows how long this will last, but they're definitely a play-in team at the least.
Yes. Yeah. I think so. I think the difference between this team and other Kings teams is they really don't have a lot of holes in their roster, and like the players that they're playing make sense together, which is like a revelation for the Kings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be very serious. I think they're probably a first round exit.
Yeah.
But dude, just to make the playoffs for them is a pretty big
100%.
deal. You
I
know?
think they might have the longest streak of all active sports.
I think they do. I
They're
think
not
they
made the
do.
playoffs.
16 or 17
Yeah.
years. Something like that.
So even Keegan Murray, who people, the pick in terms of value, not great, but he fits in this team fantastic, right?
Yeah. Stretching the floor, shooting little threes, kind of
Moves the
doing
ball.
all the little stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I think they did a good job with it. I think the only thing I'm nervous about for them is like, I'm not sure how you get much better than what they have right now.
Mm-hmm.
But, they're the Kings. It's kind of like what I was talking about during the preseason with the Timberwolves when they made the Gobert move. It's like, you're in Minnesota, you're in Sacramento. Are you really winning a championship? Like, probably not.
Yeah.
Just make the playoffs and be competitive, and like the fans are going to be pumped, like they are right now. You know what I mean?
And
That's
to that
kind of-
token, the Timberwolves are showing them exactly what not to do.
Yeah,
which is to
dude.
mortgage your entire future and be 17-21, not even the play-in. I was high on the Timberwolves. Thought they were going to be at least a good regular season team.
Yeah, me too.
Thought Gobert was underrated. Then I saw a stat the other day that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Gobert have the same amount of blocks on the season. And I was like,
Really?
maybe he's not that good.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, we don't have to get too into it, but yeah, I'd say, they might sneak their way back into a play-in, but definitely not what they were expecting when they made that trade.
I almost thought it'd be good for them that in a weird way that Cat went out because then they can like just do the Gobert kind of offense
Yeah.
where it's like 5 out outside of Gobert. I don't even know what to do with that team. Like if you were the GM, you're kind of stuck with it. I mean, maybe you can try and trade D'Angelo Russell and like do a little addition by subtraction kind of thing, but it's just like, man, that's a bleak situation now for the next couple of years if they can't figure it out with those guys.
Yeah, I think that Anthony Edwards obviously still deserves time, but D'Lo is a bottom 5, like mover of the ball. Like he does not know how to run an offense.
For him to make all your offensive decisions is like not
terrible.
exactly ideal right there.
Yeah.
So maybe if you got someone who moves the ball a little bit better, it's hard to get those guys now.
It is, but we'll see. All right. So maybe let's move on from our team evaluation. Let's kind of.
Who would you pick like your number 1 pick out of the West?
Oh, right. Let's do this first. This is hard to say, man, because it's hard to say not the Warriors.
Yeah.
But I can't ignore 30-something games.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time saying the Warriors. I won't be surprised if it is the Warriors. I guess I have the Grizzlies then.
Okay.
I do think that a lot of what you said before is true, and I do fear that. But I don't know. I think the Grizzlies or the Mavericks actually
Okay.
would be one of my two. I'll lean the Grizzlies. I think they have the better team. But yeah, one of those.
I'm still gonna go with the Warriors until they give me like a real reason in the playoffs for me to not believe in them. I'm just gonna believe. in them
it's
for sure.
tough.
I would feel better about betting on the Warriors and losing than I would betting on someone else who hasn't proven it yet.
Sure.
So I'm gonna stick with the Warriors.
That's fair. Okay. All right. So I have my list pulled up here of my top 25 in the NBA. We can kind of. a lot of it has to do with what we've already talked about with the teams. And I've kind of had this more of like, with this season in mind of everything we've seen, kind of discounting more previous seasons. I'm not really giving a lot of legacy picks. Obviously, there are some players here that I don't think deserve to be dropped off too much, and the majority are who's playing well this season. I got a couple key stats pulled up for players I think you're going to want to talk about.
Okay.
So my number 1 right now is Giannis. I think I had him.
No arguments.
Yeah, I think I might have him 2 before the season, but I think there's a clear top tier here. I have Giannis, Jokic, Luka, Tatum, Embiid, and then KD.
Okay.
I think they're my MVP candidates. These are the only guys I think that could possibly win MVP. These are the only guys I truly believe can win a championship out of any of these guys. I think that, or at least based on the beginning, this part of the season and how they've been playing so far, and I think that they've just been unbelievable. Giannis, case for Defensive Player of the Year. He's also not had Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton for much of the season.
Yep.
Jokic we don't have to talk about.
Yeah.
Jokic is so good. Luka, 60. Anytime you beat a record that Will Chamberlain had, you're a generational player. That's all we can say. And so Luka's 34, basically 9-9 that is ridiculous.
I think with these top three guys, like what's kind of fun about the NBA this year is that I think the level of talent is so close. Like you could almost have those three in any order.
Yeah.
I think you have to do Giannis one because he has the championship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's also like they have such different skill sets. Like
Exactly.
Giannis is a bull to the basket.
Yeah.
Jokic is like the Swiss Army knife of like offensive tools, and Luka is just like the get out of my way. I'm gonna score this and do step back threes. Yeah, no argument there on the top three.
I mean, this is the overall point of this list is that I think this is the greatest league has ever been. This is the deepest, the most talented, and making this list was tough. Because like we said before, every team has a guy that if they had 20, 30 points, you wouldn't be like, that's shocking.
There's probably a lot more guys too.
Yeah.
That like if you gave him the ball, like if you gave Jordan Poole the ball,
Well,
he could probably like and just would like Poole go.
Yeah.
He probably scored 27 a game.
Exactly.
Like, easy,
And
right?
Me and you remember watching like the Charlotte Bobcats growing
my
up.
God.
Or like I'm trying to think of some awful teams. Like even the Bucks when they had Bogut and Monte Ellis. Like those teams were awful. Like
They were like OJ Mayo.
yeah, exactly. Like we've gone through some awful basketball. This is
Yeah, we're like you're scrolling through. You do like the randoms in 2K, and you're like, "There's no way to play with the Bucks."
exactly. But this is like every single team. There's a guy I want to watch. Every
Yeah, that
team,
you're
there's an
excited
interesting
about.
guy.
That the teams are excited about too. I would say.
Exactly. Okay, so after those top six, I got my next tier is a bit further out. I got Morant, LeBron, Steph Curry, Devin Booker, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Paul George, and then Donovan Mitchell, and then AD to round out that tier. So I think it's 8 players. And these are all guys on good teams. I mean, I would have Steph higher, but he's been hurt for a while, so I want to give, some advantage to players that have been playing. I think that Shai could be higher. We haven't really talked much about Shai. We didn't talk about Thunder at all.
No.
But Shai is also another guy like Tyrese Halliburton that's had this insane jump this season.
Yeah.
Probably going to be an All-NBA player. I mean, almost definitely is an All-NBA player. Probably a starter in the West, and depending on how Curry's situation looks. But yeah, that's kind of my 7 right now, or 8 right now in this next tier.
I think you can't have Ja over Steph Curry. I think Steph.
Wow.
I think Steph has to be right outside the top 4. No, I think you would have to be 3. I think you have to go Giannis, Jokic, Luka, Curry.
Wow.
He was the Finals MVP last year and was the best player in the league last year.
I mean,
really, I think Curry has to be 4 and then drop Tatum down, and drop everyone down.
My only thing is that I just wanted to put more emphasis on this season. So even when Curry was playing, that team was bad. That team was.
But it wasn't anything that Steph was doing. I mean, Steph was still doing all this stuff. I can't. I think Steph has to be top 5.
Okay.
Until he really shows that he's slowing down.
I mean, I hear you. I think Steph will probably end this season.
Especially over Ja. He has to be over Ja.
I mean,
he has to be
Ja is
over
really,
LeBron,
really good.
too.
No, LeBron's been... I mean, I guess that's
LeBron's still great, but
I should probably have Steph over LeBron.
I think you have to have... I know he's been hurt, but I think you have to have Steph 4, and then everyone else goes after that.
Okay.
Because he's done it so many times, he has that equity built up.
All right.
Which is why LeBron is so high, too. I mean, he's still 29, but it's like 29 a game, but still, you have to have Steph higher than that, in my opinion.
That's fair. I mean, he's probably going to end the season top 5, if not higher than that. So, could see that. I think that, I mean, I don't know. What I really struggled with was, at this point, if we're not going to talk about anybody else in this tier, was what to do with this next group of players.
Oh my God. Looking at your list, I'm just like, whoa.
All right, so just for the viewers, so they're on the same page as us. I'm just going to go through this next group of players because I think they're all... you can talk me into a lot of changes here. But at 15, I got Halliburton.
Oh my God.
At 16, I got Trae Young. At 17, I got Jaylen Brown. 18, I got Pascal Siakam. 19, I got Zion Williamson. 20, got Kyrie. 21, I got Markkanen. 22, De'Aaron Fox. 23, Darius Garland. 24, Domantas Sabonis. And then to round out the 25 was DeMar DeRozan.
Okay.
But truthfully, those last 5, really, from Kyrie and down, there's 30 guys that could be in that bottom 5, right?
You could throw Anthony Edwards in there. You could throw
Kristaps Porzingis has a conversation to be had there.
That's a lie. Porzingis. Okay.
But yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking right now. And I'm trying to value winning here. Like I have Halliburton over Trae Young because Halliburton's team has been better than Trae Young's team, and maybe Trae Young's got slightly better stats, but Halliburton's doing much more with much less, and that has to mean something. Jaylen Brown is on the best team in the NBA right now.
Yeah, no arguments there.
Yeah, Pascal Siakam, I think, might be. But Pascal, I think, for me, has sneaky been taking this huge step. I mean, 26 and a half, 8, and almost 7 assists.
Yeah.
That's basically the numbers LeBron's putting up right now. And
His team's not winning, though.
this team's not winning, but his production. I mean, his team is not that much worse than Trae Young's team. His team's not, his team, he's averaging better stats than a lot of these guys. I know I just said I was going to value winning, and I do value winning. That's why he's 18th on this list and not higher. But I mean, think about it. If we're comparing him and Zion Williamson, which I have right underneath him, Zion Williamson is 26, 7, and 5. Pascal is 26 and a half, 8, and 7. Right? I mean, yeah, Zion's on a top 3 seed in the West, and Pascal right now is not in the playoffs. But I think that if we're looking at, he's the best player on a team. Zion's not necessarily the best player on a night-to-night basis, right? If we're thinking about the Raptors, Scotty Barnes took a step back. I said Scotty Barnes might be an All-NBA first-team player this year. He's not even an All-Star this year. So
Okay. All right. Let me go through these one by one, and I'll
right.
tell you the problems that I have with this.
all right, sure.
I think it's a small one, but Paul George at 12, like we've just been kind of like throwing Paul George like top 15 all the time. I think it's okay to bump him down a little bit. Like I know he's like 24 a game and like he's still good, but like I don't know, I think Mitchell's probably a better player than him and can do a little bit more with it at this point.
Sure. I'm two-way, but yeah, that's fair.
I think Paul George is more around like 15, 16, like where Jaylen Brown is. Like I
Okay.
think they're pretty much equivalent players at this point in their careers.
Sure.
I think Halliburton, like you make a good argument for him. I mean, top 15 player in the league is pretty high up there.
I
but
think
like,
he is though.
fuck. Yeah,
You don't
kinda
think?
is.
I think he kind of is. Like he's kind of an All NBA player right now.
I'm going through the list of names in my head, and I'm like, yeah, I guess he kind of is better than a lot of those guys. All right, that's fine on him. Marketing, I think I need to see it for more than like 30 games for me to say he's a top 25, like top 25 player in the league.
Based on right now, I'd say you deserve. I mean, like I said, this bottom 5 could be rearranged and replaced in a lot of ways, but
I think it's hard to say like Anthony Edwards, or like I think Anthony Edwards is better than him.
I mean, I didn't put Kawhi in there because Kawhi's been hurt.
Yeah, so that was my other issue with this list is like Lillard, who I know has been hurt,
Yeah,
and like
that's another
Kawhi.
guy.
I think they almost have to be on this list somewhere because like when Lillard is healthy, like Lillard is like a Trae Young type of talent.
Yeah.
I mean he was the Trae Young before Trae Young, so I think you have to have Lillard on this list, and I think it'd be easy to bump out Sabonis or DeRozan. And as bad as Kawhi has looked, like I still can't fully like, is he really going to be this bad for this long?
Do you
know
really
what I mean?
think that Markkanen's not going to average better stats than him by the end of the season?
Marketing will average better stats,
Yeah.
but I still think like if you're so is this like season 25
This
or
is-
like playoffs like all
No, this is a little bit of everything. So
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's exactly If this was playoffs, it'd be different. Obviously, we'd have to put Kawhi in here for sure for the championship pedigree. But I'm thinking if I'm looking at, I think the Jazz are bad, and Markkanen's been good. And one of them's going to be an all-star, and one of them's going to be an all-star, and one's not, and Markkanen will be an all-star, and Kawhi will not.
True. I still think you have to have Kawhi on this list because of the ceiling of it. Like we know what he can get to, and whether or not he's just kind of like just trying to play his way back into it and like get ready for the playoffs. Like I'm a bet on the infrastructure guy. Like I still think Kawhi should be in there. I think
Sure.
Lillard should also be in there, even though they've been hurt this season. So like I understand why you have them out of it at this point.
That's
You
fair.
know? I think Bam has a case to get on there somewhere too.
Yeah, I guess. I'm
Oh,
just
dude,
not
Jimmy
sure what
Butler.
he-
Why is Jimmy Butler not on this list?
Butler,
Butler has to be on this list, too.
Sure, Butler probably could have made it over Sabonis or DeRozan, but I think the expectations.
Butler is better
of
than
it-
Fox. Butler is better than Siakam. Yeah, I'm throwing water on the Siakam thing
No,
too. I'll just
no.
never really believe in Siakam
No,
as like
Siakam.
a top
We're not giving
20
Siakam
guy.
his credit.
I'm not. You can. I just don't. I just like I've watched.
Siakam
I have
was All-NBA
scars.
third
I have
team.
scars from watching Semi Ojeleye.
Yeah,
just,
but that was
just
when you were
lock
young.
Siakam down.
Yeah,
I know
that
it was a
was
while
he was
ago, but it's just like
ago. He's grown.
he drives to the basket. He does his little spin move,
No,
and
but he
like if
does
you have a
more
big
now.
guy in there,
He does more now. I mean,
I'll never believe in Siakam. I'm just gonna go ahead and put
he's an
that
All
out there.
NBA third team player last year. He was
Yeah, I know.
13. He was
I
number
know.
15.
But it's just like as a go, if Siakam is my go-to guy, like even if I have other guys, like I just don't believe that team goes any farther than the second round.
I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure that's not true about Jimmy Butler anymore.
No, it is. Jimmy Butler's so good, dude.
No.
Jimmy Butler will not put up the stats, but then in the last 5 minutes he turns
he's
it
a
on
very
and
clutch
he makes
player.
the most ridiculous shots, dude. Like, the most ridiculous shots.
He's a very clutch player, but is he? If I'm trying to win a game, I don't
Jimmy
know if I
Butler's
can
better
opt
than
for a
Paul
game.
George. Jimmy Butler's
Wow,
100% better than
no,
Paul George.
that's ridiculous.
Dude, you're underrating Jimmy
No,
Butler
you're
so
underrating.
much.
You're underrating the first 46 minutes of the game.
No, but he's still doing stuff, dude. Like Jimmy Butler is absolutely terrifying to play against.
I'm not sure.
He almost dragged that team to the finals. That Heat team last year was not good, and he beat out the Sixers with Harden and I guess there's no Harden, but
Yeah.
I think Harden probably should make the end of this list. Though,
Yeah,
right?
Harden could make the end of this list.
No, I'm going hard. Like Jimmy Butler is his top 15 player, 100%.
No,
like
I
100%, dude.
No,
He's just he does so much stuff. He does so much stuff for you, you know.
I mean, all right. I mean, I can hear what you're saying in terms of value it brings to your team, but I think that part of it is also like the malleability of these players, right? I'm thinking if I just put like one of the benefits of a Luka, a Jokic, a Giannis, or even like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or a Tyrese Halliburton, they can play anywhere with anybody, right? I put Giannis in any team in the NBA, that's a good team, or he can play with any guy. Even if I put Tyrese Halliburton, I put Zion Williamson, I put even Pascal Siakam, right? They're going to put up their numbers and they can fit into a lot of different offenses. Jimmy Butler needs an offense kind of catered around him, needs shooting around him. He's not the same shooter anymore. I don't know, man. I think he could make the bottom of this top 25, but top 15, you think he's better than Tyrese? You think he's better than
Yes.
Jaylen Brown?
Yes.
You'd rather have Jimmy Butler than Jaylen Brown right now?
Yeah.
No, that's ridiculous.
It's it's hard to he doesn't put up the stats, and I actually disagree with you. I think he fits into pretty much any offense
No,
because he's
he
just
can't shoot.
no, he can shoot. He just doesn't do it. Like he's
don't
he doesn't shoot threes, but he kills it from mid range, and all he's doing is playing good defense, moving the ball around, and setting up other players. Like Jimmy is 100% top 15 for me in my head. If I'm trying to go deep, I'd take him over Devin Booker if I'm trying to go deep into the playoffs because that's just the kind of guy.
Yeah,
he
but
is.
Devin Booker's getting you to the
regular
playoffs.
season, you win this argument, but playoffs, Jimmy Butler is it's almost like the best version of a role player in a way because he's doing all these different things and he can score and it's
I mean, but we're looking at what a Jimmy Butler-led team looks like right now, and it's a team that's not in the playoffs.
yeah, but they'll turn it around. He was a shot away from making the finals last year.
I guess.
So
I don't know.
you know what I mean?
Sure.
You
I guess
to,
he
you
was
have
a
to
best
have Jimmy
three.
on there.
Yeah.
At
We'll
least
see.
top 15,
I don't think
arguably
he's
top 10.
No, that's ridiculous.
I'm telling you right now, but if you put Jaylen Brown, and I love Jaylen Brown, if you put Jaylen on that Heat team, they probably have the same record or worse.
But I'm saying
sure.
if you put Jimmy on that Celtics team, I don't think they have a better record.
No, they're way better.
No,
I'll
they
be
have a
honest
worse
with you.
record, I think.
No. They're way better.
No,
for sure.
no, that's ridiculous. Jaylen Brown's so good, and Jimmy
Jaylen Brown
Butler's
is
not
amazing.
the same.
Now you're getting me to
root.
Now you're getting me to argue against Jaylen Brown. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Jaylen Brown's so good. Jaylen Brown had 40 points in the playoffs. He had a 40-point game. That's better than Jimmy Butler did all season.
I think the thing with Jimmy is if Jalen's shot isn't going down, you can see him kind of it's hard for him to score sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy doesn't need that jump shot to go in to still be an extremely effective player.
Well, the jump shot's never going in. if we're
Jump
being
shots,
honest.
the three is not great, but the mid range is killer, dude. Killer.
Alright.
It's like DeRozan on steroids sometimes.
Right. We'll see.
Some of these shots
We'll
he
see by
makes.
the end of the season how you feel.
So and I guess I can't kill you for it on Kawhi and Lillard, but I think they should be in there. And I will die on this Jimmy Butler hill. He's so much better
Interesting.
than you're giving credit for.
I mean, I think he probably should make the list. I think that he definitely has a case to make the list in this bottom 5 area, definitely over Garland, Fox, Sabonis, DeRozan. He definitely deserves over those guys.
100%.
But
I think he's
time.
top 15, top 10.
Maybe he's 21 behind Kyrie. But like I
That's
said,
crazy.
under the 20s, there's 10, 15, 20 guys that could have been in there.
Yeah,
for various
but
different
Jimmy
reasons.
should be higher. We'll argue about this. Jimmy should be way higher.
All right.
I think besides that list is pretty good. I try and get Edwards on there
It's just tough.
as well. It's tough. It's tough.
It's just
a lot of good players.
Yeah.
It's a lot
All
of good
right.
players.
Speaking of a lot of good players, just to wrap up our pod here, I think the biggest story in the NBA that so far this season, it hasn't been that crazy of a storyline season. I think. I mean, a lot of storylines came in the off season, but something that I've noticed, I'm sure everyone has noticed, is this insane kind of offensive production that we've seen in the NBA. I mean, Luke had 60, 20, and 10. But then we all forgot about that because Donovan Mitchell had 71, 10, and 11, and 9.
Yeah.
And then we forgot about Jokic had 41, 15, and 15. This also put away LeBron at like 39 on his birthday, I'm pretty sure. Giannis is averaging like 40 points a game in the last 7 games. Giannis had 55, like 10 and 7. So yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous. What do you think? I mean, do you remember, I have a list here pulled up of the best games this season. Do you remember when Embiid had 59? Embiid had
Really?
59, 11 and 8 with 7 blocks.
And no one blinked an eye.
And no one remembers that game. I promise you could talk. I watched so much NBA. I don't even remember that game. I couldn't tell you. They played the Jazz. The game didn't even go to OT. That was in regulation.
Well, I think it's kind of like the new 40 points is 50 points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it used to be rare for players to have 40, and now it's kind of like any given night, a lot of players are, well, not a lot, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, the 50 points, it's upped it a little bit.
I'm like Siakam, 52, 9 and 7.
Must not be playing defense. Yeah, I think part of it is the free throws. I think it's gotten a little out of hand with all the free throws, especially like when you're playing against guys like Giannis and Jokic. Like, they're just so overpowering that
Sure.
almost anytime they want, they can go through and get kind of like I don't know what the word, like a little ticky-tacky foul,
Sure.
you know what I mean? And it is really hard to do that, combined with how good everyone is shooting from 3. But at the same time, I think it's also what you talked about, where it's like we've never had this much talent in the league at one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
It's changed things. It has.
I think, for me, I think the free throws definitely, but I'm not sure there are more free throws this year than in previous years.
No, I think it's more of like
but-
the fear of like when you're guarding someone
Sure.
that you're going to foul them, because there's a million different ways to foul.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like just
Especially with the
don't
use
even
of
want to
hands, like
touch,
little
yeah.
reach and stuff like that. You
That's
know?
fair. That's fair. That's a very good point. But for me, I think a lot of it has to do with the matchups, and specifically because of the talent of the league, defense takes a lot more energy and effort than offense does.
Yeah.
And if you were
a good
playing
point.
good players every single day, guess what? I don't get to take a night off when the Pistons come in town anymore. Or maybe now you still do, but when the Magic roll into town, or when, I don't know, like the Raptors or
Yeah.
whoever rolls in town, there's no longer nights off, right? There's no
Yeah.
longer like...
I think if the Pistons are coming to town, you're like, we could stay out till like 3.
Yeah.
Like, we'll go home at
Exactly.
3 a.m. But like after that, we're
But
good.
it now kind of feels like, well, if we got 5 games in 11 days,
Yeah.
by the last game, by the 5th game, I've seen KD, I've seen KD, Kyrie, I've seen Tatum, I've seen Shea, I've seen blah blah blah, and then by the
Yeah.
5th, I'm like, God, I'm dead. Like,
Yeah.
it's over.
Well, even if it's like, okay, we have the Bulls on the schedule, like that should be an easy game. It's like, well, DeRozan's still going to put up 25,
Exactly.
and Levine might put up 25.
Exactly. And so and not to mention, there's no one that can guard any of these guys on this list. I mean, there's no body you could throw at Giannis, Luka, even Donovan
That's
Mitchell,
right.
any of these guys.
Yeah.
So we're getting these huge plus matchups of these guys that are playing, and they're just running pick and roll over and over and over and over
Yeah.
again, just killing you in the pick and roll. And then also the defenders are just gassed. Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking is it's so deep. There's going to be some sort of correction at some point. I think there's going to be defense is going to be valued. I think in a different way now.
Yeah, so two interesting points there. I think also, too, what you're talking about the matchup-wise, I think what a lot of these teams are doing as well is, like, if you're the best player, you're probably not guarding the other team's best player
Yeah.
for the whole,
Yeah.
for the whole game, because it's not worth it. Like,
Yeah.
when the Celtics played the Bucks on Christmas, like, Giannis wasn't guarding Tatum.
Mhm.
Because there's just, in the playoffs, you're probably throwing him at him a little bit, but
Yeah.
now it's just like, I don't know, let's not completely, like, run our guys into the ground or
Yeah.
anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
we'll let, I don't know, like Royce O'Neal chase him around, or like let Grayson Allen go chase him around or
Yeah.
something. So I think there is that too. But I think the other interesting point made is like, I wonder what the correction is. Because it seems like for the last, ever since those Curry teams, we've just seen the offenses get more and more insane with all the spacing and the 3-point shooting. And I don't know what the adjustment is to kind of account for all these individual talents, as well as like the way these teams are known to build around them. I mean, we know that the NBA will adjust and change things at some point. I mean, it's kind of like it happened in football. You know, the last couple of years it was like all pass it and bombs and everything, and then offensive scoring went way down because the defense is adjusted.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the defensive adjustment is for some of these guys.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the biggest difference in the NBA and the NFL is the NFL, a lot of it's dictated on scheme, right? So we got there's Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow just throwing bombs all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Let's just run a cover two, man.
Yeah.
Let's just drop 2 safeties back there. That's an easy fix. I think with the NBA, like you said, since Curry, the real adjustment on offense is that players have just gotten better ranges now. Everyone can shoot a three, right? So I think naturally the adjustment is that they're going to start drafting good defensive players. And players are going to start working on defense. You want to get paid? Are you a middling? Are you a Joe Harris type? Guess what? There's 30 of you now. There used to be one Joe Harris. He made the Olympic
Duncan
team.
Robinson can't get any minutes. He's
exactly.
making $15 million a year.
We can find a Max Strus undrafted anywhere, right? We can go get
Sam Hauser.
we can find a Sam
sitting on the
Hauser
bench.
anywhere. Yeah. We can find a Matt Ryan anywhere.
Yeah.
But guess who I can't find? I can't find a Dorian Finney-Smith, right? It's hard for me to find a Royce O'Neal, right? These guys that
got traded for a first-round pick, Royce O'Neal.
Exactly. So I think that it's going to take time. It's not going to be this quick fix. But like we saw, like every year in the draft, it was like another guy like Trae Young, Curry range. Curter was a great shooter. All these guys that are great shooters getting drafted. Well, guess what? Maybe Ausar Thompson, right? This guy coming into the draft this year, this crazy athletic guy, can't shoot. Guess what? Maybe he doesn't need to shoot. Maybe if he is a plus defender on some of these good offensive players, that's all he needs to get paid, right? I don't know. I think that probably is the adjustment. And also a bit of maybe shifting back to more of a big man inside, trying to clog up the paint a bit more. But I don't think the NBA is going to try to change their rules in any way.
No, because the product's never been better in terms
100%.
of like people running around shooting and if at any game, you know what I mean, you can go off for 70 points. Like that's a good product because that's what keeps you watching.
100%.
Yeah, and you're right about the schemes things. It's not like, you know, you could just be like, oh, let's run a zone. You know what I mean? Like I've seen teams break it out here and then they you make 3 threes and then they're like, all right, screw the zone.
Screw the zone,
you know what I mean? I don't know what kind of defensive scheme you can really change around in that. I mean, the Celtics kind of had a little bit of the blueprint for it last year where it was kind of like switch everything and have the like Robert Williams not being actually in the paint but kind of like roaming around. Or sorry, being in the paint and not guarding the best center so he can kind of roam around and muck things up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to find guys like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's probably 5 or 10 of them in the league, if that.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, that's 100% true. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
But as a fan of any of these teams, you're kind of deathly terrified all the time.
Oh my God, yeah.
But I think a part of the offensive explosion and kind of we're looking at the list of names here. I mean, there's like how many different names? I'm not gonna count all the names. We got like 10 different players that have all had over like 40 plus 50 point games, right? So these dude, Zubats 31 and 29.
What a beast.
Like, you know. So at some point we got to say, hey, 4 first-round picks for Rudy Gobert, not going to cut it.
No, yeah, that trade's looking worse and worse by the day, dude. And I didn't even mind that trade when it happened, but now it's just like, dude, I don't know what you do with that.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, Siakam. The truth is the trade values of all these guys are decreasing because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't. If I got Anthony Davis, who is 4th on this list of great games, he had 55, 17, and 3 blocks. That doesn't mean anything. I might not even make the play-in if all they had was Anthony Davis.
They won't. I mean, Lakers have 2 top 15 players and can't make the playoffs.
Exactly. So I think that's kind of another storyline. Is we might have seen the last huge, like, league-changing trade of the next 5-10 years. I know we always say like no. We always trade the players for the product, or you always trade the players for the player. Sorry, you always trade the picks for the player. And I'm not saying that picks are getting more value. I'm just saying that Thunder, they've always been accumulating these picks. That team is better than the Timberwolves right now. And guess what?
Yeah.
They have a future, and they have a top 20, 25 NBA player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
So maybe this is it.
Well, I think that's interesting too. Is we've had this incredible run of like teams trading all these picks for superstar players, and at some point, like someone's going to have to, pay off their debts with that, and it's going to ruin someone's like next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're kind of seeing it with the Lakers already.
Yeah.
You almost had it with the Nets, where they were like, "What are we going to do with this? We don't have any of our draft
The
capital."
Clippers
It's going to
are-
happen to. It might happen to the Clippers. It's
Yep.
going to happen to the Timberwolves,
Yep.
where with all these massive trades and teams just being like, "Whatever, I don't care about my future." And it's going to come back to haunt some of these teams. And some franchises are going to be in pretty rough shape within the next 5 or 10 years because of that.
Yeah. So I think that saying it now, we're not going to see a trade like that anymore. And guess what? If we don't see a trade like that anymore, guess what's more important?
I think we still will.
Free agency. Free agency's coming back. You heard it here first.
Well, if we look at your list of 25 here,
Yeah.
I mean, like, which of these guys could actually be moved realistically? Like, I guess
I mean, none of the top
Paul
6 get
George,
moved.
Trey Young, everyone else
I mean, I
is pretty
think-
much cemented. Like Siakam, I guess. Markkinen, you probably would still move.
I mean,
Does Markkinen get like how many picks?
I think
would you trade
Markkinen's
for?
at 2 young players in the first round, and two first-round picks and a young player right now.
At least, right?
Yeah, at least. At least.
Maybe like a 3 first-round pick kind of thing.
Yeah, like if you heard Zaire Williams, Dylan Brooks, and 2 firsts from Markkinen.
I think it's a pretty good
Yeah.
trade for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I'd be
they,
like, oh.
they kind of
They kind of came up there, yeah. It's like, oh, they kind of got a better team. They got a better deal there. So, I mean, Markkinen, Sabonis, all these guys proven that it kind of is worth holding the asset a bit.
Yeah.
The players maybe do have value. Maybe the picks aren't everything.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some, maybe there's something there to it. And waiting out on young players, especially big men, might be worth it. So, Warriors, James Wiseman. Let's not go crazy and try to build
I'm
dynasty.
kind of done on Wiseman. I think he's a backup center. I still think Moody and Kuminga can be pretty good though.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Moody isn't better. He kind of does everything you want him to do.
I think the
Warriors
league's
did
just
it for you.
good. All right, so that kind of wraps up.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, I would say look out for maybe like some potential trade videos in the future. I have some ideas of teams that are I think we're, like I said before, we're about to hit the trades. I think once one trade breaks,
It's
we're
kind
going
of
to see like
it
7
breaks the dam.
trades. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the big trade would be. Moving.
I mean, I think Markkinen.
Moving Markkinen, I guess. Moving Porzingis. Markkinen might be too good to the point where you're just like, why don't we just hold on to this guy? He's still pretty young.
And I think sneaky Damian Lillard. I think.
I don't think he leaves Portland. I think he retires there.
I don't
You'd
know.
be surprised.
I don't know. I think that
They
ownership-
can't even trade Bradley Beal.
No.
Maybe like the Bulls. They've been playing a little bit better. Yeah, I guess not
But yeah,
really.
I'd say, just trades are coming. Be patient and don't count out the Golden State Warriors yet. They're gonna make their run,
They will.
and it'll coincide with when the Nets make their negative run. So we'll see a little bit of a balance by the end of the season. But yeah, that's kind of the end of the Clear Path podcast. So thanks for listening, and hope to catch you guys in the flip.